Once again, thank you so much for staying with us. We continue the conversation we've been having with Brian Muchiri. He's a survivor of a tragic accident that took place in 2014. He's been sharing his story, his journey of overcoming and going beyond those scars with us. I see a lot of your feedback. Anthony Matheri says, Brian is very inspirational. He has the zeal of life, a great public speaker beyond the scars. And there's one more from James Baragu who says, what a story. Healing comes from acceptance. You accept, you enjoy serenity. Keep it coming. Grace Kuria KE at KTN News KE. Brian, thank you for staying with us, of course. I'd like to ask about another post again I saw from your timeline on Facebook concerning the scare that followed of using, public means or any other means of transport.
Yes.
Basically, following the accident. Just take us through that.
I wasn't aware that something had changed in the way that I perceived transport or traveling until later on I came to look back at this, at some of the things that were happening, and that's when I discovered that I was experiencing some kind of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because every time I get into a car and it goes past probably, let's say, 60 kilometers per hour, I start to get a lot of anxiety. In fact, when in the first and second year after the accident, when we needed to go for physiotherapy, because from my home to where we went for physiotherapy is about a 30-minute drive. My parents used to ambush me in the morning, because if they told me about the visit before, I wouldn't sleep there the previous night. I would just have a nervous breakdown. I would just shake and sweat. We call them cold sweats, where you feel cold but you are sweating.
You're sweating, yes.
Yeah, because I came to know that maybe that was a lot of anxiety because of having to drive or to be in a car again. And it has taken, maybe I still have some kind of anxiety because I can never really be at ease to the point that I sleep in a car. But I can say I'm better now because I enjoy road trips. I enjoy short drives, long drives. So I can say that maybe a lot of accident survivors don't know that they go through this, maybe because they are not aware, because we are not told or we are not counseled. But they should definitely talk to someone about some of these fears that they have, because if you have a fear to be in a car again, then your life will be stuck in that, in the past. You won't move on, and that is the most important part.
To what or who would you attribute, how far you've come, the fact that now, as in your own words, all that has sort of like reduced and you're going back to like a normal lifestyle? What or who would you attribute it to?
Again, it goes without saying that my parents are top of that list. My father is my caregiver.
Talk to us more about your dad, because I see a lot of posts about him, on
Yeah,
Facebook.
my father, I spend a lot of time with my father in the mornings and in the evenings, also with my mom. There is a quote, when we are seated with other spine injury survivors, we always say that when you're in a wheelchair, there is no secret, because your caregiver knows everything about you, even though you are innermost your innermost things that you don't share with others. So my father has been very instrumental to my recovery over those 6 years, and I think we have gotten closer, and we have known each other more, and I think I respect him more because of the work that goes into taking care of me and how willingly he does it. And also my mother. My mom has been a pillar of strength for us all. My dad takes care of me, and then my mom takes care of us. I know wherever she sits, wherever she is right now, she's just smiled because it's the truth.
Yeah.
There's this one story I like to tell about my mom. When I came from hospital, I had a severe pressure wound in my lower back. And it was starting to get out of hand because it was starting to get infected. And a nurse came and he said that I needed surgery as soon as possible. And then we were so scared. And then my mom sat back and said, "You don't need surgery." Yeah. She said, "Just give me a scalpel and spirit. Maybe cotton will also." And then she cut off the skin that had, the flesh that had decomposed. And then that's how I got healed. She did a surgery right there in our room. That goes to tell you how strong she is and how much of an inspiration she is to my recovery.
Yeah.
So my parents, without a doubt, have been so instrumental. I'm also the firstborn of 3 brothers. So I'm firstborn, and then there are 2 younger brothers. So my brothers have also been instrumental in the way that I have continued to see life and to see it in a different light. And my friends, my cousins, you know, we live where I live, though we grew up with my cousins, so we are just like siblings. So they have always been with me. My friends keep visiting even 6 years later. So I am truly blessed. And
But are there those who left?
Of course. There is a point, probably in 2015, 2016, it was a very low point in my life because I had a lot of expectations, because I thought, because when you're in that bed, you want to believe that people will not forget you. You don't want to be forgotten. Though everyone says that, be prepared, people are going to forget you, but you want to believe that you won't be forgotten. And at that point, I felt forgotten, and people are not picking my calls, and people are not going through with their promises. Like they would say, "Hey, Brayo, I know it's been a while. Let me come tomorrow." And you know, I'm in bed. I have so much time in my hands. And then when someone tells you that, you get excited.
Yeah.
But
The expectation.
Yeah. They don't come. They don't call.
Oh.
And those people that I expected to be, I know it's a common story with people who have gone through these kind of trying times in life, trying times. But friends at some point will disappoint you. But the positive is you're going to get so many more.
Yeah.
So many more.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't even remember wewe ndio umenikumbusha that, because that is a part that is forgotten and is forgiven. Those who maybe I felt like they hurt me, I forgave them, and that is how we grow. Yes.
And even from social media, because again, I see you talking about people who approach you, even from the streets, and you think, what is it? You think they know you or something, but then they know you from social media. So
Yes.
again, you've gained lots of friends from there. I want us to talk about Strong Spine Foundation, the inspiration behind it, and how the journey has been with Strong Spine so far.
Before the accident, I can say that I have always been charitable in heart. But like I say, I write for a blog. I'm a writer. I write for a blog called Potentash. And when I started writing for that blog, one of my earliest posts was about how how I have grown to become the founder of this foundation that helps disabled people. And though I was charitable in the past, I was not in the front seat. I was more of a participator.
Yeah.
I just went where the wind blew, so I was not actively involved. But afterwards, it was a culmination of many things, because from my friends buying me this wheelchair, and from the kindness and warmth I had gotten from my family and friends, I just felt that it was time for me to put out that energy again to people who needed it. So that is how I started Strong Spine in late 2018. My first project then was to give out my first wheelchair. Because I had already been given this one, I gave out my first wheelchair to a man I met in Kenyatta Hospital. Yes. Later on, I grew into charitable events and getting more interested about knowing about other people's stories and being invested in them. That's how I got to travel and to go and meet people that I possibly couldn't have met before. We built a house in Joro for Awan Joseph Kahuho, together with Nancy and Josephat and Waire. We visited many institutions with special children with special needs. And it keeps on getting better. 2019 was a very good year for Strong Spine. And the most important thing for me, like for my guiding principles, is inclusion and equality and empowerment to kind of like show you that you can be out there and you can live a full life. In March of last year, I went on a fact-finding mission in Nakuru County, where I wanted to assess the state of accessibility around the public buildings. And I took my friend Mombi, and it was a hot afternoon, but we went round Nakuru, and though the state was quite wanting, it showed there was still some prospects, and you get some hope from that. And I hope maybe if people from Nakuru County are watching, maybe they could do something more. They could do something better for disabled people in terms of accessibility, physical accessibility, accessibility to education, to healthcare, to school, to even things like banks.
Yeah.
Like that day, in my process to assess the accessibility, there wasn't one, maybe let's say, affordable restaurant I could get into. The only hotel I could get into was a hotel we call America, and I didn't have 5,000 for a meal. No, I wanted to spend 200, but all the joints either had a lot of stairs or a very dangerous ramp.
Yeah.
Because a ramp is not just a ramp.
Yeah.
Though I used to call it just a ramp is not just a ramp. A ramp is something that is safe, that is supposed to protect and to help the person who needs it the most. Yes.
Okay, time is really, really not on our side, but I need us to talk, and of course you'll be sharing your contacts and even your social media handles for someone who'd like to get in touch with you. But I want us to talk about adult diapers.
Yes.
Because again, from your posts, there's a bit where you say that, you know, tangu tuchapie story ya adult diapers, umenotice watu wanakuangalia vifani sana, trying to see if they can see the brief. Just before you even talk to us more about it, share your experience with us and the first day after you discovered that you need to use these diapers.
Like I said, I am a writer in a blog called Potentash, and amongst my earliest publishings or my earliest posts was something about the first time that I realized I was in a diaper, yeah? And I was in Kenyatta Hospital, and it was a dark morning. The curtains were drawn, and the nurses came into my cubicle, and I was just beginning to be conscious about the things that were happening around me, and they had come to give me a bath, yeah, because at the time I couldn't do anything for myself, so I'm just sleeping there, and then I hear the sound of a what do you call it? The snapping sound of a diaper. And then I was shocked. I wondered what is a diaper doing anywhere around me? Because at the time I had a younger brother and I used to change his diaper, so I knew that sound that it makes when you just unwrap it. That snapping sound it makes. So that was probably one of the one of the hardest things to come into terms with, and it is incontinence. Because when you sustain quite a severe injury as mine, you don't just lose sensation and movement, you also lose the ability to control your bowels and your bladder. So it was quite hard for me to come to terms with that, yes. But eventually, over time, I had to accept it, because I started looking at the diaper. I know it's a hard topic for people to even speak about, but when you think about it from my perspective, you see, like, a diaper is something that keeps you clean, something that gives you dignity, something that gives you so much opportunity. Because, for instance, if I had to make the trip from Nakuru to Nairobi, maybe without a diaper, I would arrive here messy. Yeah? Like, even with babies, if you don't have a diaper. So I stopped looking at it maybe as something that you should be ashamed about. It's something that really assists and empowers people with disability, because this is something that we really need, and that unfortunately it is quite inaccessible to some of us.
And expensive.
Yeah, but we
Are you doing something to help other people that probably do not have access to it, yet they need it?
Yeah, when late last year, I started the conversation about adult diapers. The message I wanted to put across was that though these things are so important to us, it's something, I write in my post and I say, this is something just as important as food. Because if you don't have a diaper and you eat, where is it going to go? So that's how important it is.
Yeah.
And it's quite expensive, because a packet of diapers goes for close to 1,000 shillings, and that's just 10 pieces. So you can imagine.
And how many do you need?
You need, some people even need 3 a day, 3 pieces a day, because you're going to need it according to how your body responds to the elements. So if maybe your body wants to go 3 times a day, you can't control it, you can't tell it no.
Yeah. That means a pack 3 days.
Yeah. One packet has 10 pieces. And one packet goes for almost 1,000 shillings. And so you see other people resort to other extreme measures, maybe using lassos and other cheaper things, but also compromising their hygiene and health. It's quite sad.
As we wrap up, Brian, I'd like you to talk to someone who's probably at a stage in their lives where they're losing hope, where, for instance, they could have gone through what you went through and they can't see a tomorrow. You know, they are where you were in 2014. Just talk to such a person.
I would say that it's important to go through that period of time when you feel depressed and you feel sad, because unless you heal from that point of your life by yourself, you cannot be able to move on with life and live a full life as you ought to do. So though you are going through tough times, just try and learn something from it, and it might be beneficial in the coming. I survived, so you can survive as
Sure.
well.
Your contacts, Brian?
You can reach me on my phone number 0716 196 592, or you can get me on Facebook, Brian Muchiri Waihenya. Yes.
Great. Brian Muchiri Waihenya, thank you. We do appreciate. God bless you. May he keep you. May he bless your dad, your mom, and your friends or family who are with you in studio today. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us. We appreciate Brian. There's a lot of feedback. Samuel Michael saying Brian has been an inspiration to very many of us. We've grown up together, and I'm very proud to have him as my cousin. And Collins Kiplimo saying, wow, indeed a big scar that Brian has overcome. I am so inspired. A big thank you to Brian's dad. Mad respect. And lastly, Matheka, Simon Njoroge says, I'm a person with disability. I'm watching Brian Muchiri. Paul Sana to him, that is a moving story. Disability is a club anyone can join at any time. Let government and society take issues of persons with disabilities seriously. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for all the feedback. Thank you for tuning in. 11 a.m. Ben Kitili is here with Inside Politics, and I'll be back at 1 p.m. for Weekend at